Are you gonna give me orders?
uThermal and Lambo always have like this little bit of a, if Roddy was here, he'd be ashamed of me if I did mention, uThermal and Lambo, they don't like losing to each other, I think they both kind of don't think each other, not that they don't think each other aren't very good, but like they both kind of believe they shouldn't lose to each other. And so there's always like a little bit of a story here when these guys end up playing, and it's always a little bit of fun and a little bit of drama there. So very fun to see them end up in the first round, as we'll start with the red Terran in the bottom right from Team Liquid, uThermal.
In the top left is the blue Zerg. It is Lambo. What a clan decal. I feel like that's his face whenever he loses to uThermal. Okay, so yeah, you're bringing up this feels like a historic matchup, even though it's not necessarily the people who are always making like the finals, right? We're talking about one of the biggest rivalries in StarCraft 2. It's probably Rain or Serral for Europe. But these guys are just constantly playing in all of the European qualifiers and tournaments, and you just see them everywhere all the time. And they've both had their high points of being, better than the other, for sure. But now more often, I guess, and I would say right now, too, I view them kind of similar. Like, I could see either one winning. And maybe uThermal feels a little bit better on some maps, and maybe Mech kind of made a comeback. Maybe Lambo's feeling really strong, but it is funny that they both always expect to win against each other, because I view them as something that could provide us with a 3-2. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, this one's a hard one to predict as well, because uThermal has been an absolute monster lately, and especially TVC. Like, his TVC looks so good. The Lambo has also been looking really good. I mean, there was an ESL Open Cup final where he played a beautiful 40-minute game against Clem on Everdream, and he didn't do so well overall in the score, but he definitely showed like he can stand toe-to-toe against the very best in Europe. So, yeah, it's a tough one to predict. I actually just looked at both our predictions on our prediction bracket, CG, but we both put uThermal 3-1. How about us being in sync, huh?
Oh, I thought you were going to say how about us, trying to build this narrative and then failing. Yeah, also that. Yeah, well, I did look up, admittedly, like how uThermal's been doing, and I do feel like he is in stronger form currently, but not so strong as to be like, yep, he wins. I'm not so convinced, so attached to that score as I put it in my video. So let's look at some hope for Lambo. The Lambros out there all cheering for him, right? I did manage to catch a really wacky uThermal game. Did you? I think it was a ladder game, so I'm not sure if you saw it. And it was versus Protoss, to be fair. It was versus Mana, actually.
It was the versus Mana one. He played Ghost Banshee.
Yes. Did you cast it?
No, I didn't cast it. I just...
Oh, you just saw it?
uThermal put on YouTube. So,
yeah. Exactly. You guys should check it out as well. So he has... my point was that he has some Mimi builds. Maybe more so against Protoss, but I know that he can do a lot of different varieties here. So I also favor him in that way in a best of 5, whereas Lambo is just more like the stalwart defender macro, and show us good games, right? That's what they all want to do. Third CC pretty fast for uThermal into Viking Henley, and I expect the Tech Lab on that barracks.
Yeah, Tech Lab just start up Stim fairly soon, unless he's really going to throw a bit of a curveball in here. Maybe just wait for the Overlord to pass through, but there's not really much to hide from this Overlord either, right? It's a very fast 3CC. It'd be very weird to see anything that's not Stim and Bio beyond this. If this was going to be like a very late battle cruiser, you would have seen the Fusion Core already. And now he's going to drop the Tech Lab down. I guess it just times out nicely. So because he builds the Liberator, right? It takes up a lot of the gas, so he wasn't ready to build Stim just yet anyways.
Yeah. I guess sometimes the only Liberator or only a Viking into faster Stim, but
exactly.
Regardless. And Lambo actually, unfortunately, he was like, I think, thinking about a safe Baneling Nest timing, so he slapped one down and then immediately canceled it when he realized what he was scouting. So a bit of a lost investment there, but he does accommodate for what he scouts. And it's usually by the time you scout a third CC, it's kind of too late to really try and like punish it. But certainly, even if he was able to do so quickly, I still expect Lambo to just take advantage of the macro.
Yeah. He's just going to set up. I mean, uThermal's terrifying when he gets into this macro game in TVZ. He's so good around the map. We talk about Clem and Reno recently, but actually, uThermal played a really good series against Reno as well. I think it was in one of the online invitational events, and he actually, I think, on the same day played two 5-game series against Reno, and they both went to game 5, and they both went different ways, and it just kind of shows that uThermal is also up at the top of the league in this TVZ matchup. So. And again, definitely not looking to win off 2 racks and Hellbat pushes and stuff, really in the macro games as well, letting the games go along, fighting over an extended period of time and all that good stuff, as the Italians denied by the Queens, but the Liberators in the main base just denying some mining here and there with the racks and starports all swapping around, setting up nicely into a ton of production on the 3 bases.
It's kind of worth noting, since there's not much else. 4th base for Lambo, continuing to get gases, because he's going to get those upgrades before Baneling. At the same time, he could afford everyone. Just kidding. He's actually going to go ahead and cancel that. So I was going to talk about these 8 Hellions. A lot of times with 3 CC, you actually see 4. 6 is the standard number, which feels pretty safe, but 4 is doable. And then he added on even more. I've seen him do this before. So it's not totally out of this world. And I think Lambo's also seen him do it before. So he takes the Hellion threat very seriously. He doesn't just depend on his Queens. He doesn't let that 4th base die silly willy to the Hellion fire. But while it can provide a lot of Hellbat pressure with any push he does, considerable amounts, it is delaying extra production. Again, if you go for 4, that's 400 extra minerals he would have had to go into 3 barracks at the very least faster, with reactors being added on. But instead, holding off, providing maybe some more aggression, not finding too much to be done with them yet, but Hellbats will be available, and then slapping down all the production. Just slap down 4 more barracks immediately, 3 more coming down, 8 rack style. uThermal was doing this. It's can be brutal. Every time you think you've cleaned up a wave of reinforcements, another one just keeps coming.
Yeah, it's you gotta be on top of it, right? You can't ever let your macro slip up. It goes for both sides, right? Ling Bane keeps coming, Marine Tank keeps coming. It's why this matchup becomes so mechanically focused, as these Hellions back to defend, but then they have to split away against Banelings, and Hellions actually take a little while to get rid of Banes here, so 5 workers down, and there's still Banes and Lings in the natural expansion too. And this means that the depot on the high ground won't get raised. The Hellions have to chase up here, may lose a tank. I mean, uThermal's pushing the top, but this is a very small investment for Lambo, all things considered. uThermal going to turn and fight now. He does get rid of most of the Banelings, a few left over. He gets rid of all the Banes, and he might be able to get a 4th base again. Looks like the Queens won't stick around to transfuse. There is a hatchery on the left side as well, so it's not like Lambo is going to be completely without a base to mine from for a 4th. But still a shame to lose 1 hatchery on the top side, especially what seems to be his preferred 4th base, considering he's tried to expand there earlier as well.
A lot of things could have gone very differently. That could have been game over for either side, honestly. If uThermal was so distracted, he didn't have anything sieged over there, or if Lambo had wasted that run by, if the Hellions had caught it earlier and then also lost his 4th and tried to defend it and lost as much as he did too. So I guess it's more unlikely that maybe Lambo loses with all the creep spread and his additional 4th base. But yeah, that can be really, really scary. It was a good run by to try and buy time. Didn't really do that. Did take out some of the Hellions. Did take out a decent number of STVs. The Lambo on 70 drones, 4 bases still, working on his 2-2. Temporary lack of Banelings is what caused his 5th base to die, but he has upped that count as well. And it already added on Hydras and the upgrades for them. So going into Ling Baneley Hydra, staying away from the Mutas, which we've seen really come back into TVZ, and already on top of this double drop. So uThermal not going to find anything here, but it's going to open up opportunities hopefully for his main push. But look at that creep spread. Yeah. That's going to take a while to get through.
Yeah, uThermal's been ignoring the creep in favor of just diving toward bases and in towards mineral lines. And that's something that he needs to maybe reconsider a little bit now, because his larger pushes are really going to rely heavily on not having to wander straight on top of creep spread, right? So he has to be a little bit careful there as we see these Marines coming through with these Hellbats as well. I mean, this hatchery's just going to go straight down. I mean, this base is just not allowed to get up, but obviously you have the base on the left side. The Bane's being picked off. If uThermal can get up here and get those tank siege, on the ledge towards the 3rd, that can be very dangerous. It still has these Hellions as Hellbats as well, so a lot of tanking potential against Banelings here.
Lambo knows
those
that
Hellions are still alive. Sorry.
Yeah, me too. Well, Lambo, I think he had a decent army to combat that. I think he also knows, why bother? This doesn't end in an all-in. It doesn't end with uThermal tapping out. He can expand from this, but you don't have a second factory. You don't have a lot of gas. You can just barely afford the 3-3. You don't have extra tech labs quite yet. Like, he knows that he can just hold on, sacrifice that base again, and grow a bigger army for a bigger potential to not just win against that, but like literally win the game. He takes a really good fight. His run by is not going to work out as well, and he gives up on the top right for now, just taking the bottom left corner, which uThermal hopefully will be sending units towards, just realizing that's what's happening. But that creep straight in the middle is still pretty scary. He's going to have to take a long route past the upper side of the map to really start hitting into Lambo's economy again if he wants to continue fighting this way. So that's a lot of time for Lambo to buy for more Banelings, or in this case, Vipers, and maybe even Ultras.
I see a hatchery canceling up on the top as Lambo just against us. I guess I'm just never going to get this base up. He tries to counterattack, but a tank Marines behind a fully walled off area. I mean, that's a beautiful wall across the entire surface of that base. You just can't get in at all. And now uThermal on this high ground again, maxed out and pushing down, just as Lambo's trying to invest into Ultras. Let's see how he can do. He still has those Hellbats in the front to try and tank a few Banelings. Lambo's going for a massive surround from the right side as well. He's going to lose a lot of his queens on the front already. He's trying to get the Vipers in position to then engage with this surround. Here we go. Big stim from uThermal on the right side. He's got a lot of Marines here that can just focus a lot of the base. Nice blinding cloud. Tries to stop the Marines from just sitting there for free. And it does force them to mess up their micro a little bit. And now they start taking some heavy hits. These medevacs maybe need to try and get out of here as Lambo gets a full cleanup on this uThermal army.
It's not quite done, though. I mean, the power of so many Marines is that they can continue coming, or they can pick up and drop somewhere, right? So uThermal is not going to take too much time to regroup. Lambo, that was a beautiful surround that was coming from every different angle, trying to make the best out of a scenario where he was still going to be off creep, but it's a surround that really does help. Isn't done yet. And uThermal also now able to get a fourth base behind all this aggression, is finally adding those Marauders. The Ultras are getting less scary as time goes on, but he can't overextend. He can't think that he actually has, because there's not that many Banelings. One actually getting a pretty good connection. The Vipers coming in through the tanks, which didn't really end up helping that much, and his reinforcements being caught off guard. That was an overextension onto creep, looking for an engagement that wasn't going to be there. His army wasn't that impressive. It was just enough to kind of scare, but not really dive.
Lambo
and he's going to tap out.
Yeah, Lambo's going to take a few too many good fights, and I think as soon as uThermal sees the Ultras, he's like, well, yeah, I've got some Marauders to play against this, but overall, I wasn't really planning on playing against Ultras, right? Like, I think he never really intended to have to actually fight them. I think he kind of felt like the game was going to end before then, so it's not a very weird time for uThermal to tap out there. As we're going to go into Nightshade, at least though, for map number 2, so definitely feels like Simulacrum was going to be Lambo's pick, and then uThermal's map pick will be Nightshade. And we'll see if he can recover on, again, well, we talked about this earlier, right? In TY versus Vanya, this is more typically known as a very Terran-favored map. It definitely plays into uThermal's style as well, which is trying to kill the Zerg in a mid-game or like the heavy mid-game sort of stage, and get an advantage there that he can just kind of keep playing by almost as a couple of Ultras trail in, trying to save the day or so. So
yeah,
let's see
he wants
how that shit goes.
a stronger snowball so that it's more of a struggle, less supply, not a maxed out Ultra player, but 160 and a couple Ultras type thing. That's the best case scenario for him. But I would say like uThermal, it's not really a criticism because I don't think he's wrong ever to tap out. I think he always taps out when he is dead, when he knows where his weaknesses are going to end up killing him and whatnot. But that was one of those games where I'm like, well, I mean, first of all, diving on that third, whatever it was. I mean, that cut out almost all his army. So again, understandable tap out. But it is also one of those games where like, if he had just played a little more like, okay, can't pressure anymore, just start dropping everywhere, fourth base ran into a planetary, he could have had 5 more minutes. But are those 5 minutes really worth playing out? Is usually, I guess, uThermal's stance. So I know some people in there might be saying like, why did he tap out so fast? Well, he was momentum was going to go favorably for Lambo, especially the creep spread still not being cleaned up. But uThermal, not one to be dissuaded by that style, could very possibly do it again on Nightshade and just be like, you know what? Instead of this happening, hopefully this thing happens. Instead of those Banelings connecting, these Banelings connecting. Or actually, perfect example, instead of me taking a minute to clean up the counter, I just know he's going to do that run by. And let his Hellions deal with it a little bit quicker. That would have been nice.
Yep.
So,
Fun game.
Yes. Well, all the TVZs are fun, Wardy.
Yeah.
Don't you know that?
Well,
Never
yeah,
a born
naturally.
TVZ.
That's why it's a safe statement as a caster. If I come out of a game of TVZ as a caster, I'm just like, oh, fun game, guys. Everyone's like, yeah, it was a fun game. But, everyone forgets to balance wine like they were doing 2 minutes beforehand. So, it's a good strategy, ZG. You don't have to call me out on it. Now everybody knows. No.
Calling you out in casterism, man. Don't you love when other casters do that? You're just like, you don't know what to say, and you're just like, well, all right, so yeah, here we go. Another caster's like, couldn't think of anything to say, could you? Like, why would you do this to me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you said everything there's to say, That's the problem. My co-cast is so good. She leaves me nothing to say. It's like, well, yeah, uThermal was dead, and I'm probably going to try the same again because it's uThermal, and it's a good map to do it on, so yeah, like maybe I'll talk about Lambo's, I don't know, hairstyle choices. Did he shave his head like so many others did in this quarantine? I don't know.
So we need player cams, man, to test everyone's, I guess,
internet connection, webcam quality.
Oh, well, I was going to say test their hardiness against getting haircuts. I am getting desperate, man. I am looking at the scissors.
Yeah.
Every day. Anyways.
Yeah, I've not had long hair for a while, so I'm kind of like, I'm just rolling with it while I can.
Yeah. Ugh, no, I don't like it. And I'm the one that has to get used to it, okay? Like, gender norms. Anyways. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, we do have uThermal.
I put up service like, when he's like, I'm pretty sure you guys have something to talk about, like, you complain about having nothing to talk about, but I'm here ready to intro the players, and you guys are just continue to talk. Lambo, in the top left-hand side, is our blue Zerg. Our Nightshade up 1-0. Good start for him in this best of 5. I kind of like this section of the bracket for both these guys. The winner of this plays Zest in the next round. I feel like Zest has obviously been playing very well lately, but uThermal can be very tricky in TVP. And we saw Lambo had success against Korean Protoss in Katowice. It's a match which I think Lambo or uThermal could look good in going on from there. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. I have nothing to say, Wardy. You start admitting it? No. There's never a lack of things to talk about in StarCraft, you guys. So we paid the big bucks.
Tell us about the Reapers, EG. Why is he trying to kill the Lings?
We do this Wardy casting 24-hour style. The Ling dies. Or doesn't die.
So you people are just like, Wardy just says what's on the screen. It takes skill, guys. ZG literally has this in front of him. She still gets it wrong. There you go, ZG.
You're welcome, Wardy. I just made you look so good.
So, more third base from Lambo. Some of the Zerg starts telling me they like this base. I still don't really know why. Do you?
Why Zergs do?
Yeah, the forward base.
I feel like it's almost like you're getting ahead of the problem, right?
Yeah.
There's a problem on the way, so you just get ahead of it. In this case, it's like the creep spread.
Mm-hmm.
So creep spread gets pretty far out. It's the ideal. And also, maybe in a worst case scenario, it's also a little more mined out, so you transfer to your fourth, which is going to be safer. You could maybe also be playing something more aggressive. I mean, Lambo could do a 1-1 Roach attack. Not that I think he will.
Yeah, I think I think you nailed like the two best reasons, right? You get that creep out in front of it a bit faster, so it makes defending it a bit easier. That, or it's, if you're going to get aggressive, then you have them reinforcements spawning a bit closer toward the Terran base. So that's obviously nice. I think it's on this map usually the former. I mean, Lambo as well is not much of an all-in, so yeah, uThermal even just going to go 3cc, but a Banshee without Cloak again. We've seen this once today as well. So Cloakless Banshee lets the Ling in. So Ling will get a full scout here for Lambo. Good bit of info.
Yeah, nicely done. The Banshee feeling very safe. Of course, Lambo. Best of 5, you gotta make some all-ins, cheeses in. But not gonna be this game. uThermal. Gonna transfer over. Do you think it's still a mech game? Do we have Golden Wall on the map? Pool map.
But it's in the map pool. I don't know what the map order is.
Yeah, darn. You seemed so magical when you were like, we're getting into night shit. And I was like, how did you know? And
I was in the lobby.
Yeah.
No, actually, I got the first invite off the admin. I was very surprised.
Oh.
I don't know if that's
okay.
a hint that I'm just usually slow to join. I feel like I'm not, but maybe.
I see how it is. All right. It's, okay. All right. Anyways, double engineering bay to double upgrades. Lambo is gonna hold off on the Baileyness for a while. I guess until the lair starts, right? Times out with some difficult hooks. Any thermal. Do the 8 Rex thing again. Show how good it can be.
Yeah, I honestly, I just expected more of the same from uThermal. I mean, you talk about what went wrong in the last game, and there's like a little run by here, run by there, but in general, he just kind of had one bad fight, and it's hard to get back on top after that one bad fight. On Nightshade, it's so much harder to get that one bad fight happen, though, because you just don't get surrounded as easily on this map. If you do, there's generally a choke point that's working against the Zerg as part of that surround. And so it's just typically, this map is just better for Terran. Like, it's such a boring thing to say, but we just say it because it is one of the maps that clearly has got that Terran favor all over it and in TVZ. So it's tough to imagine him really changing it up, obviously because of the lack of counterattacks on this map. The 8 racks becomes very powerful on the 3 bases, so definitely just expecting more of that rather than like 4th base, macro up, and really, look to take this into a long game, because I expect that would be his plan the maps after this.
Well, he does take a non-aggressive stance. Usually you have the Terran take the forward base because they're usually the aggressor, unless that's that
true.
Roach play.
Yeah, that is actually really true.
Just is safer. I mean, you might still do it, but it is just usually forward position because you're attacking and pseudo defending as you push.
Yeah, maybe he does go for 4th base then.
I feel it more and more, but
yeah, that's such a really good point. Like the bottom base, you don't usually see that being the choice from the Terran players for that exact reason. So you can see this Banshee going down. I will say that uThermal, it was just one Banshee, but I feel for uThermal to not get a single drone, even with one cloakless Banshee, is very unlike uThermal. He's a very strong micro player. To not find a chance to get into a mineral line and get a drone or 2 here or there, I think speaks to the strong defense of Lambo. He's playing very well in this early game, not giving uThermal any chances to sneak ahead or anything.
All right. It is 3 more barracks instead of a 4th CC. So we're going to have non-stop aggression. So much creep spread to go through, though, man. Like, Lambo actually really on point with this creep spread today. Good God. Oh, he's even going to take an offensive fight. This is off creep.
What?
Without the typical hooks. Well, as I say it finishes up.
Yeah.
But gosh darn, that timing.
Wow, literally as he got off creep spread, it's like the Banelings activated Baneling speed. And they're like, we got to roll now, boys, to keep up with this game. I don't know if I like it, though, really. It feels like Lambo, he blows up the siege tanks, but it costs him a lot of Banelings, and now he pulls away, losing a lot more Banes in the process. His next round of Banelings aren't ready yet, and uThermal's reinforcements already showing up from 2 different sides. Well split up, and he is dealing with the Banelings very well. And Lambo has money he can't even spend at the moment, as uThermal just continues pushing up on creep, and, well, there he goes, EG. He didn't take the forward base, but he's still 8 racking it up, and this time just comes straight through the middle. Lambo tries to jump on it early, and it just does not work. And now he's going to lose a base at the very least for that attempt.
I love it. It actually is a perfect example of how this can work out and why you shouldn't do what Lambo did. I mean, sometimes what Lambo did does work fine, and it looks comical. The Terran just flails because they can't get anything done. But in this case, it's one of those, this type of style, you think you have enough, and then you run out of Banelings. That's the real problem, is that you run out of Banelings. And even if 8 Marines are left over, that's enough, actually, to continue the push if there's no Banelings in that 40 links.
You need the next set of Banelings to be morphing while the fight's happening, so they finish when the fight ends, basically, so they're ready for the next one immediately. Because then you can stop the Terran pushing forward. But now, those Banelings were morphing in, still morphing as the fight ended. uThermal got a couple cancelled. He had reinforcements arrive, and Lambo feels like he needs to jump on those Marines, so he does, and obviously that didn't go well. And at this stage, we're just kind of waiting for Lambo to go for maybe 1 or 2 more tries until he really runs out of units here, but looking good for uThermal. He is a bit... Okay, Lambo has 2-2. That's the only thing he really has here. But down half the army supply upgrades shouldn't really make the difference either in this, and so uThermal will take it. And we're tied up 1-1. Once again, getting ourselves at least finally away from a 3-0. I feel like that's worth mentioning just because there's been a couple of them today. But yeah, TVZ, and I think what's really cool is that uThermal really didn't change much, right? Same style, same sort of play, just the way the fight goes. I mean, it sounds like a lame way to explain what happened, but in TVZ, so much of it is just if this fight goes well for one player, the momentum generally keeps swinging in that direction. Last game it went Lambo's way. This game, the big fight really went uThermal's way, and he just didn't let it go afterwards.
Got to be a frustrating experience for Lambo. I think he knows what he did wrong. That's one of those things you instantly know that you did it wrong as soon as the baneling's
You can't go
clear,
back
you're
on.
like,
Yeah.
No. And then you just you play it out because, well, he did have 5 bases. He still had mining and larva and a lot of creep spread, but you know that you just made one pretty crucial mistake. So as nice as it is for not to be a 2-0 and going into a 3-0 potential, uThermal, I don't want to say that he gets lucky, because part of that style feels like you're hoping for overextensions from the Zerg. Sometimes they have to overextend type situation because they're being pressured too much. But if he did it again, we're going to Golden Wall, by the way, but if he did it again, I would assume that Lambo is a little more reserved and doesn't make the same mistake, although there are other mistakes to make. But I want to see some Cyclone Mech. So that's been the cooler games here on Golden Wall.
Yeah, I feel like Golden Wall is this map where the Terran either tries to do what uThermal just did off the gold base, and it works very quickly, or they try and do that, then realize it isn't working, and they try and expand and realize the map's really, really, really big, which is typically very good for the Zerg. Or they play mech. Have you seen someone play mech recently on this map? Because I feel like it's been at least a couple of weeks since I've seen something mech focused.
Let me think here, besides all the subscriber replays that I do. Not for a while. They were exciting, but even watching that really cool Rainer uThermal game that everyone was talking about.
Yeah, the one that was like 30 minutes long on the bottom versus top. Yeah, that one was really cool.
It was sick, but I looked at that game and I was like, oh, it's really sick that he almost made it work, but I actually really understand why it didn't. The Cyclone Mech, that is. So it's a want, but I don't think it is the best duo on Golden.
That was a long time ago as well. That was like when Golden Wall released.
2 months ago?
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Something around there. I feel like this map has been through so many phases for TVZ since then. As in the bottom right, our red Terran is, of course, uThermal. See what he pulls out here, because I think it is really a question of what does uThermal do rather than what does Lambo do. Let's take us away, ZG. I'll let you contribute.
In the bottom left, it's the blue Zerg, Lambo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I feel like Lambo, this is the kind of map you play Mutalisks on, right? It's large, you have like an entire zone on the bottom side where the meters can like freely fly, so you can pay less attention to them as usual as the Zerg at times if you need to. You can fly meters into mineral lines. It's a good map for jumping between mineral lines. You can harass the gold base mineral line if they take the gold base. So meters absolutely seem to be a common go-to, but overall, it's going to be Ling Bane focused, right? A map like this, nice and large. You can still get run-bys off, even though it doesn't typically seem like you might be able to on the initial setup, but say they take the gold, you can run by from the north and northeastern corner of the map down, and you have a choice of natural or the back entrance to the gold. And so you can just stay so active on the map. So, yeah, really intrigued to see, I guess, my whole point is, what does uThermal do? Because I think that's going to decide a little bit of what we actually see here overall in this game, rather than Lambo making the moves and uThermal responding.
Terrans typically take the reign in this matchup anyways, unless you're talking about all-ins or the 1-1 roach thing. It's not always the case. A decent bopping of the first push and suddenly it's all Zerg. All their decisions, but it's always like, okay, is there a Banshee or no Banshee? Is there mech or bio? For Zerg and Lambo, I guess especially, I would just consider Lane Baneling, possibly Muta, possibly Hydra. So a bit of the matchup, bit of the players, and this map, I think you already went over it. It just screams not roach and not mech too at this point. So I will expect an 8 racks again. And that's when Lambo needs to prove that he knows exactly what went wrong and he's going to be a more conservative. But there are a lot more sneaky places. Nightshade is really played out. Usually what they're trying to hit, although that last game was not quite it. Usually you're headed towards your 4th base ridge and then siege up there, but that last game wasn't it. For this map, there's so many different choices. Like, you could actually choose to go south as an expansion and kind of force your opponent. Either one of them could have been like, I choose south, and then the other guy's like, oh, okay, let me choose south again too, or north, as they seem to be doing, because this mineral wall in the middle of the map really makes it frustrating, personally, but fun to watch when it comes to watching the pros. It is 3cc, Hellion, Viking again. Only difference was the extra 2 Hellions weren't made last game.
Yeah, the Viking on the way up, and obviously no tech lab on the racks, right? So we sort of put 2 and 2 together and probably expect that Liberator as well. Kind of like we saw in the last game. So build order is pretty straightforward for the moment, and yeah, we just wait to see where the 3cc is going to land, because that really will tell us a lot about, again, what uThermal's kind of plan is for the game.
I love when they do the exact same thing over and over. Because instead of just being like, well, you know, it's going to be the same thing, guys, we could actually just try and be sounds super smart for the one person watching game 3 and be like, I know exactly what he's going to do. Like, whoa, man. Oh,
it's like, whoa, these casts are great.
It's the last thing he did for the past 2 games. But yeah, it is very similar. So the decision, you know, 2 Hellions or not, extra 2 Hellions, okay, here we go. I do think, you know, besides providing aggression, providing Hellbats, because with 8 Hellions, you're almost for sure not going to lose in the silly Ling surrounds, as well as defending against those Ling run-bys. For a while in TVZ, like, most of the Zergs were thinking, how do I defend that first tank push? And then one of the answers for a lot of the maps was a Ling run-by at the exact appropriate time. Hellions would stop that. 8 Hellions especially would be better at stopping that. So they didn't quite do their job in that first game, if you recall, but they were better than the alternative, which is sacrificing 6 Hellions because, well, Hellions, who cares? And then not having anything. So is he afraid of a run-by in this map? That I'm not so sure about, but as he reaches towards his 3rd, there will be an opportunity to run Lings in multiple directions. This Liberator is so cavalier.
Yeah, it just goes in, but he's actually got the Hellions on the 3rd base as well, and he's going to start getting a lot of drones. Already 12 workers down. The Lings are going through choke points to try and get on top of them, and he will start to clean up, but this is 15 workers killed. Yes, the Liberator goes down. Yes, the Hellions will go down. But 15 drones, when uThermal starts to play Bio, that's 15 drones that you can never really lose, because Bio punishes that worker loss so quickly, and now Lambo is in a huge supply block as well, and that's going to mean he can't even really re-drone super a lot for a little while. So that Viking also showing up to be huge in this, and uThermal getting all of the early game little bits and pieces going his way.
I think that's also extra bad. I mean, the drone count already going down that much is pretty bad, but extra bad news for Lambo is that I think it was happening when he was about to start layering Baneling nests. They feel a little bit late. And in centrifugal hooks, we saw it barely time out in the last game, and he was overly aggressive, but that's always a big... It's always one of the big questions. Do they have Bane speed or don't they? And how much creep spread, which we actually don't question anymore for Lambo. His creep spread's still pretty on point. And luckily, he did also start his upgrades a long time ago, so he'll certainly have that lead. But it's always in centrifugal hooks, and will uThermal hit any attack before they're done? 4th base is also, like, the drop potential for that all the way to the north when you're being hit so, like, horizontally is a weird way to put it, but from the bio player is also really difficult sometimes for the Zerg to defend. But Lambo's going to be aware of all these potential problems, probably without even scouting. Guess it's going to be another 8 racks, as you see nothing but the similar openers. The one thing that is different, the drones lost and the Hellions lost. He might try and get a Ling run by with that knowledge, but it's difficult when they take the gold base. They're pushing and defending with their rally.
Yeah, you really have to run like top right and down right, and come from like the upper 3rd of the Terran. And then it's kind of nice because you can go, like I said, into like the back of the gold or like into the natural, but it takes a little while to set up. And obviously, you know, during that time, you're a little bit vulnerable, less Lings back at home to defend. And uThermal just comes forward and cleans up some creep spread. He is actually going to add on a 2nd factory and a 4th command center. So he did go up to 8 racks, but he decides to say, okay, let's play the longer macro game here, and not really looking to punish what was an early lead, as he just loaded up Marines from this natural just as these Zerglings start to run in. He will lose a siege tank. That will be about it. Not too bad in the end, especially as he's moving away from the siege tank army, which is interesting because Hydrogen just went down from Lambo, and obviously tanks are better ending games against Hydras. Widowmines can still do well against Lingbane Hydra, but the tank-based army can really, you know, set up a position and push a position against Hydras. The Widowmines struggle to do that as much because you don't really have anything to push into that Hydra count with, which is absolutely a problem.
They don't get hit by the Widow Mines, so they really shouldn't ever get hit by the Widow Mines.
Yeah.
But, Muta is usually what you're getting those for. Can't absolutely have a problem against them. Validation on the Ling run by. Getting a tank's actually usually pretty nice for Ling run by, especially if you still feel confident on the map. He cleans up the double drop without it dealing too much damage to his creep spread, although this space was just starting to get started, so he might have trouble holding this as uThermal takes it forth. I do think that uThermal changed tactics based on his order. Like his armory, for instance, was a little bit later, not as streamlined. So I think maybe there was a change of heart for committing, but we are in a situation now where he doesn't have to win with this push. He doesn't have to continue the push either. He could say, okay, no, I'm just going to back off. I'm thinking he's thinking mutas, man. Like, not just with the swap off to
Thor as well.
Widow Mines. Yeah, exactly, the Thor. I don't blame him. Like, not only have mutas come back in a big way for most Zergs, but Golden Wall also seems like a great opportunity to do it, and instead Lambo's sticking on that Hydra tech and also getting another lair. I think that's actually the Hive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he thinks he's getting a Hive because he has an infestation pit, and it makes no sense for him to build a second lair, obviously, and it makes no sense to build an infestation pit unless you're going to go Hive. It makes no sense to lay the infestation pit. So there we go. He gets the Hive going now, so that was the mistake. That's a little bit of a slowdown, especially if the plan is to kind of play Lurkers here, because Lurkers really rely on those upgrades. I'm not sure if that is the plan. Obviously, maybe you just want to get Vipers up. You don't have to play, Lurkers off the Lingbane Hydra nowadays. Widow Mine shots do a lot. I mean, some of these Marines get caught, but I feel like the Widow Mine's already made up for it.
One of them getting a pretty nasty hit there. Oh, double drops. I thought we're being chased. Oh, okay, just funny. His main army responds to it, but his reinforcing army doesn't. And his reinforcing army probably should have helped a bit. A couple banelings getting sniped. uThermal with the micro. He's got the moves, guys. He's also macroing behind this. He's got the moves offensively, and he's like trying to double expand. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to just stick on 3 bases or 4 bases. If I'm going to get 4th base, I'm really going to macro. He's getting 3 extra command centers past 4 bases.
Which I actually think you kind of have to do on this map, though, right? Because how do you push into bases and creep spread like this without just going like extremely late game?
Slowly and surely. Now, I know your point, though. Like, I think this is the right call, but it is a call to make. You're not trying to end the game. You're acknowledging this could go very, very long, and you're almost expanding like a Zerg player would. So Lambo's going to take the opportunity on creep to tear down this army. uThermal still going to stick on Widow Mines, even as we get into Hive tech. They're going to be helpful in dealing with Ling. Bailing also fantastic for doing some drops. Good response from Lambo.
Yeah.
He attacked his own Spore Crawler, though.
That's a really sick response. You have to be so quick against these Drill and Claws Widow Mines because they just burrow so quickly. As he does get one more up, and these drones are stacked up over here. He does find 4 more. That's nice. He's going to move the Widow Mine away from the Spore, so maybe it gets ignored, and then you're forgotten about, rather. And then, of course, you're going to deal even more damage. But yeah, Lambo's going to chase it down with the Spore. Just needs to get a unit there. The Queen will attach itself. 3-3 on the way for both players. Lambo's been very quick. Maybe not Lambo so quick on his upgrades, but uThermal very slow on his upgrades all game. We mentioned it earlier, Armory was late, but now his 3-3 has just been a bit slow to start as well. So that's been nice for Lambo, not having to fight with the upgrade deficit. This flank that he's set up is obviously very scary because he's going to come in from the top as well. uThermal probably just has to lift up and get out of this. That's what he will try and do if the Widow Mine's dealing some good damage. He got himself out of a tricky situation there because he had nowhere to run to.
Yeah, he was completely surrounded. I like that he's brought his tanks forward and he's building tanks again, realizing, hey, it's not mutas, that Thor was a bit useless. And tank production combined with Widow Mines does provide, it's a lot of complexity in tackling an army like that. And change the way you take the engagement as the Zerg. And they're also on a high ground, which he can back up to if he needs. He doesn't need to, though. The Balins are mostly gone. The Hydras left over can't defend themselves. One last Balin was going to try and get a hit, did not find anything, and Lambo really overextends. He's going to lose a lot of creep spread, and maybe his creep spreading Queens.
Yeah, this is massive because you got so many of the Hydras here as well. And the Hydras are the kind of units you don't want to rebuild as Lambo. You kind of build them once and then you just they stay behind the Ling Bane often, right? So he built like a couple more, but he lost a lot in this army. And now this is, more Ling Bane than it is Ling Bane Hydra. Widow Mines, Lambo, do some kind of splitting, please. Oh, that was nasty. And now the Banes have no Lings to run behind, so they're just getting picked up as they come in. Some reinforcements showing up, but uThermal is just taking 2 very good fights back to back. We can even call that second part of this a fight.
Right? Yeah. Well, he's constantly taking fights off of creep because of the earlier creep removal. Lambo just constantly, once overextending decent amount and then kind of overextending a few more times. His 3-3 just about to finish too, but not affecting this fight quite yet either. Tank was unsieged, wouldn't mind unburrowed. Most of the Banelings are already gone again, though. The parasitic bomb not really catching a whole lot, but in this case, there are enough Hydras to protect each other, and they do push this back. Tank's still on the high ground. It's only going to be for so long, but actually a lot of those Medivacs went down. They were out of juice. They were stuck, healing one unit, and the Hydras were able to get on top of them. Thermal's going to have to up that count again, and on top of that, have to worry in case he does ever have to get, Liberators or Vikings. So far, he has not. There's been no Ultra Cavern. Yeah, not even a Cavern. And no Spire for Greater Spire. All right, just Viper, upgraded Lingbane Hydra.
He's kind of stuck, right? It's just... He's kind of it's like the typical Lingbane Muta stuck on lair tech, but he's kind of got a bit of Hive tech, but he's still mostly stuck on lair tech. Which is a bit of a shame. This gold mineral is mined out, so there's actually a way through here for Lambo to counterattack. He is starting to expand down on the bottom side of the map, and uThermal doesn't have to think about the bottom side of the map yet, I don't think. But definitely something he wants to go into eventually. That switching towards siege tanks is something that I think is really nice, because we kind of are past the stage of the game where, we've seen Widowmines do very well. I think eventually here, tanks kind of are a good unit to have against these Hydras, and it does start to feel like it's becoming a bit more Hydra heavy at points in this. Feels like it's kind of a switch on deal. 36 Banelings on the way, though. A few of them, at least in the bottom right, get caught. uThermal will not let this do much damage at all.
He should, not only is it the only base left to take, but he should also start to focus this side of the map just so further run-bys and drops can't actually hurt him. Planetaries hopefully will defend him from it. And then he also can maybe start pushing there if he wanted to. I don't think it's, as you said, to that point yet, but Lambo has taken the start of the bottom of the map. Still a decent amount of creeps try to catch drops like this, and they will do absolutely nothing. But uThermal, having caught the one run by, is absolutely moving towards the south. He has changed direction here, finding, I guess, his north side bases confidently defended, and Lambo's totally out of position.
Yeah, he's going to get in here. This base probably goes down. This isn't a major issue yet for Lambo, but of course, not having this base later in the game when uThermal starts to take the bottom side of the map does become more of a problem. uThermal going to go into the fusion cores. Starts to build some libs. Maybe just liberate a range is the plan here. Sits in a fight against these lings for a while. Eventually lifts up and backs away. These Vipers are going to lift this tank and get rid of it just before it goes down. It had 32 kills, that tank from the high ground. It's been sat there for a good long time. And it has been a real MVP in a lot of these fights, just helping to pick up extra units.
Yeah, it's been very helpful. I really liked it when he first placed it 4 minutes ago. Yeah, Fusion Core, no doubt, for the Liberator range. It'll take quite a long game to talk about Mass Battle Crusaders on this type of game. But the Liberators are, we talk about them more in terms of defending against Liberator or Ultras, but they are generally good units. It's just that they will slow down his army for a little while, and uThermal is awfully active. And, well, now he's actually defending. This would be a perfect opportunity for Liberators to come in, but Viper abducts will take them out of the equation. Tanks not getting too many shots. Where is the rest of uThermal's army? It's got an F2 here. Good micro away. Good pair. The Blinding Cloud, though, but it's a choke. And eventually, I think Lambo's going to have to back off.
That choke point just is actually the savior of uThermal, because he was actually running into trouble. Where was his army? Couldn't really get anywhere. But the choke point kind of saves him, buys him a little bit of time, then he gets there to defend. Feels like uThermal just not building up as quickly as he should be. And he has money in the bank, so it's not a mining issue. As he's actually setting up orbitals on this bottom side.
He did just lose a couple of... I don't think he ever hotkeyed those extra barracks. I don't know. I keep looking at them and seeing nothing producing.
Yeah, they've just been kind of there. He is selecting them, though, so...
Yeah, it's
maybe
weird,
he just fixed it. Yeah, why doesn't he build? I guess maybe he's just waiting for libs, and maybe he's waiting for marauders mostly. I don't know.
I guess they're also just technically, I think their last preference without add-ons. So interesting.
Mine drop gets 5 drones in the top left, so a bit more harassment from uThermal. He's actually on 93 SCVs to the 80 drones at the moment. So that's a pretty big deal.
Dang, that is a good point. Typically a Zerg problem, we're if only he had 10 more Hydras. Well, for uThermal, if only he had 4 more Liberators or 3 more tanks. This could be one of... Oh, that's a big one of my hit. This could have been one of the big deals. That means he is losing these fights. But things are getting really weird. Turning into base trades, literally 1-for-1 bases. Baneling's trying to collect the Marines, are unable to do so. Marauders holding strong with the Medivacs healing them.
these Marines didn't want to keep this fight going for a moment there. They backed off, and that was a little bit of a shame. We're going to see uThermal. I feel like if you lose this base, though, do you not lose the top right and the top side in general? Now, that's maybe okay if you take some base on the bottom, but yeah. I feel like losing these bases, all these bases on the top right, is kind of painful, because I feel like you need to keep some of these alive, and a lot of his SCVs are up here, so he's going to drop to, what, like 40-ish workers? And he's starting to get some units up here to defend this, but really only a little bit, and a Liberator that can kind of deal some damage, and actually the Liberator does very well at picking off most of the Hydras. And he's starting to defend that, but yeah, it does lose a lot of workers, and eventually we'll be losing some of the reinforcements he's trying to set up on this side, and Lambo really starting to take a bit of a better spot here in the last few moments. I really like the way he's been moving his armies. I feel like giving up the bottom side is kind of fine for the damage he's getting on the top, because this is no longer 1-for-1 bases, right? This is like 3 bases for a base.
Yeah, more than that, because there were so many extra orbitals and whatnot around him. I think that was 4 command centers for just that 1 hatchery. I do also think that uThermal probably was like, where is my army? You know, buying time with that first base going down was fine if then he was collecting a decent army to tackle this. But he wasn't. You know, even with more command centers going down, he still didn't really build enough of an army to convincingly tackle it. Now that he's lost workers, maybe that'll be fixed. Like, seriously, 93 is a big deal. But at 60, that's a little more reasonable. He still needs to actually fill out that supply. Down 20, running away, not a whole lot of splash, but the mine's going to look for a great shot. Doesn't even get it. TSL bomb taking out the limited medevacs he already didn't have.
Good splits, though.
Yeah, off creep as well, but uThermal, he really needs to get these bases back up. He does take the bottom base, but Lambo is actually trying to get on top of it. He's got a bunch of Baneling Hydra waiting, and that is an orbital. He could grab so many orbitals if he actually attacked down south.
Yeah, the orbitals are just kind of what baffles me on this bottom side, because it felt as though everything... I know he started to pay more attention to the bottom side. I don't feel like he really needs these bases to be orbitals, with the fact he has other CCs elsewhere as well. Just feels like he makes his own life more difficult. His uThermal's going to max out. Now his army is huge, but his bank is very small. So is Lambo's. He doesn't have that many minerals left in the bank here. uThermal needs to take a decent fight here at the very least, and he will get a good start to this. Natural Stim in after this says there's not enough Banelings here to turn on me. No creep spread either, so uThermal will actually with the concussive shells grab a couple of units toward the end there, but straight in on the counterattack. Lambo is never letting one fight happen without creating more damage elsewhere. And that's maybe uThermal's bigger issue. He does have a lot of bio there that might be able to fight that. There's no Banelings in that top side army. Because uThermal will deny the bottom base again. Lambo's re-expanding to uThermal's top right side of the map.
Yeah. What's Sears is mine now. But good clear step away from being surrounded by these fully upgraded Lings. Might still not be enough. I think really if uThermal... Man, imagine if he had gotten like 6 tanks. You know, like that's obviously a lot to take away from his main engagements, but they would protect from scenarios like this where he does find half the army, but then maybe he wouldn't lose so much base trade wise.
Lambo has no money though, so he can't really rebuild anything, Lambo.
Yeah, you know, he's not able to mine from the top right. His gold base should be denied mining. That's actually getting away with a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, the gold base is actually one base on this bottom side that uThermal could deny, but it isn't. Wow, uThermal's up like 30 supply though all of a sudden, and has the bottom side still mined? Still mine the top right. I can't believe Lambo didn't send a good chunk of units to defend, deny that, right? I know it's a planetary and so on, but there's also 2 orbitals just sat there. Like, does Lambo just not know about it? Like, that's so crazy to me. He knows about it, just doesn't do anything about it. Losing a fight on this bottom side as well. I guess it's kind of crazy in the same sense that uThermal doesn't deny the gold, right? He can just put some units behind it, a couple of Marines, he would kill all the drones there.
Yeah, exactly. Not thinking about it right now, probably. He is continuing to expand down south. I mean, my point was just that, like, uThermal probably could have done the same thing, but then had a stronger defense against losing a base, or often more than 2, because he always has so many extra command centers. But if it ends up favorably for him anyways, then forget my suggestion. It did work out well for him. Yeah. He did have just barely enough to really hold on and not have his production camped, even though he did end up losing a couple of orbitals. And now he's using the extra orbitals to expand, where he is attacking so he can defend them even without a planetary.
This game has been really crazy, because I actually really thought when he lost all those bases top right, this was kind of it for uThermal. Now the lurkers from Lambo, something he's just gotten up, made his way toward that a little while ago. The lurkers can't be everywhere, and that's just the issue, because uThermal is fighting on 2 sides. I mean, if you split the lurkers up, maybe there's some possibility. That's what he's going to try and do, but now Lambo's playing a very slow game, and uThermal's already been running around everywhere. I don't think uThermal really minds this so much, and finds his way up to the top side. That base isn't mined, and this top left was mined out anyways. I mean, that's the issue as well. Like, Lambo is actually only really mining from the gold base.
He's also going to be down to like 20 drones, with some not even mining most of this game. This is slowly but surely turning into a uThermal game. Lurkers coming out maybe too late, or maybe they just weren't with the investment overall. The Lambo did not have enough economy to continue doing all those off-creep attacks. That was a grueling 24-minute game that I agree. I thought uThermal at one point did lose the momentum for, but ended up sticking it through and winning it for a 2-1 lead.
He definitely lost the momentum. It's just he was able to turn it around in other ways. I think there was just a couple too many fights from Lambo where is this unfortunate moment where he takes some fights with like Ling Hydra that trades quite badly, actually. You know, the one where uThermal was kiting away in the natural. And at the same time as that Ling Hydra fight's happening, Lambo's starting to run out of bases, right? So it's the worst time for him to start trading inefficiently because actually he traded really well. There was a point in this game where it's like 30k versus 30k resources lost. So in that regard, I think Lambo was kind of fine. But then he runs out of mining, uThermal gets the bottom right, and he trades badly. And that combination is obviously just... Well, you maybe you recover from like one of those things, but all of them, it's really tough. Really, really tough.
I wish I had seen the resources lost, but, can't do that now. I look instead at the army value graph. And it's kind of insane. Lambo had like a significantly better army for like 5 minutes when we finally noticed 93 STVs was taken away from him. But it's like him actually killing all those orbitals, all those STVs ended up being like favorable because then uThermal was splitting with armies that were 10, 15 more supply powerful on each side, which is really... I feel like that was missing. Every time he split his army, it got beat back by Lambo. He finally actually put more units in his army, less SCVs, and they started beating back Lambo's army. But anyways, that was a fun game. That's using Golden Wall, I think, as the map creator hoped that it would be used. Not just pick one side and attack it, but rather use both sides to try and gain momentum.
Really cool map, actually, Golden Wall. It's one of these maps where I think everyone's like, when they first saw, they're like, why did you even try? Like, what are you doing? And then actually seeing it in like the ladder, I actually think it's been like the most successful different map we've ever had.
Yes.
Yeah, because it really has been consistently just good games, right? And consistently a map which I think nowadays people aren't even like, we're excited to see games on it rather than like in the past some of these weirder maps were like, Redshift? Like, do we really want to see this game on the... Like, this is just such a waste of a good game, potentially. But yeah, this Golden Wall's been great.
Redshift was something.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very strong example. But, yeah, I mean, Golden Wall does make it crazy as well. Just in its own way and in a way that works. It really does.
Well, I love watching games on it. Do not make me play on it.
Yeah, naturally. I mean, I'm speaking from the viewer point of view. Like, don't make me have to figure out how to adapt my build to a different map. It doesn't matter how fun it is. I still don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like to do that. I'm gonna watch better players do that. We're on Eternal Empire, which is back to the standard and macro. Will we see Lambo finally go for mutas here? In the top right, up 2-1, he is uThermal.
In the bottom left-hand side, our Blue Zerg needs to rally to get this win. Otherwise, he's going to the lower bracket. It is Lambo.
I think I said we said 3-1 for this, right?
Yeah.
We both did? Ah, yes. Score prediction.
That's the prophecy. The double caster prediction was too strong for Lambo to win the game.
Oh, yeah, that actually might be what it is. Lambo's going to try and really mix things up, though, and stop us from more successful prediction with a pool and gas opener for that hatch.
Yeah, so obviously it's a map where you don't really expect a lot of roach attacks because it's large and takes a long time to run across, especially like super early roach attacks. So that makes like the 3 to 4 roach pressure like into Ravages very good because if uThermal doesn't recognize that coming, he's in trouble. But he is going to SCV Scout, and that's really big because if Lambo does just go into roaches here, we've seen Terran, and I think uThermal specifically, so often just completely skip Hellions, build Marines, very similar to what TY did earlier when he scouted like Lair. he might just go straight in towards something like that. But Lambo actually just goes for faster link speed, so Hellions would be the right call. So maybe it could even be a mind game on that.
I mean, it could. I was going to ask, it's the confidence of being a roach. Because the other option, for sure, is that you go for the fast speed. All right, this is pretty important that uThermal fully scouts, by the way. Some Terrans take the SCV scout as just, are you pool firsting or not, without actually checking to see if it's dedicated. He didn't really get far enough in. Lambo took the correct gas not to reveal. And he also has the spawning pool not revealing. If he saw speed, it wasn't roaches and vice versa. But that was decent enough denial of the scouting. uThermal knows something is up, and he's even committing his Reaper, which, sometimes you see that left at home, but he's a Marine on the way and knows how many Lings are being built. Anyways, I was going to say the Ling thing can also happen. You get a bit faster of the Ling speed, you make 16, and you try and catch those Hellions when they're still at a low count, not being microed. But I feel like so much more often, this is what happens. The Zerg player actually gets scouted, even if they've seen the SCV scout not happen in other games. It just magically happens this time. And they're like, I guess I macro.
Yeah.
we hyped all this stuff up for nothing. I feel like it happens so often.
Yeah, uThermal maybe just feels it though, right? That idea of, you're down a little bit. This Reaper goes back in and dies, but he was right to do it, I think, because if Lambo had tried to bring the lower health drone back, he would have got the kill. So a little bit of a gamble from uThermal, didn't pay off, but you can understand why he made that gamble. And the Lings will still deny a bit of mine here until the Hellions pop out. And 2 Marines up here, 2 Marines, 2 Hellions. That's all this really takes. And it's not even going to delay uThermal that much. A couple of SCVs had to pull away. He actually just cancels the SCV on the natural and starts to rebuild it, so it doesn't even lose a worker here.
Well done so far by uThermal. I mean, it doesn't look like much has happened, but so many things could have happened. Yeah. Banshee, Hellion follow-up, going to be very safe. Not too many. At one point in time, there was an all-in with Queen transport you could bring here, but not really a thing anymore. And the game does go on. So now I'm back to my original question for this game, which was, is Lambo going to finally play into Mutas on one of the largest maps, distance-wise, base-to-base, but more side-to-side, that we have? We just see so many 4 versus 5 Langbane Muta maps, games on this map. They're exciting, darn it. Hydras are cool, but aren't they old at this point? Isn't Lambo being a meta boomer or something? Is that what we call it?
A meta boomer.
It's just, it's almost, I feel like almost being thrown back, although it's not uncommon to see, don't get me wrong. It's just, I've been so used to seeing Mutas, especially since a lot of what I've been watching is GSL, I suppose.
It's weird to have seen Hydras more than Mutas, right? I don't think it's weird to see Hydras in the series, but to see Hydras twice? 3 times? Did he go ever again? Just twice, right?
Twice, yes.
Yeah, so he went twice. I think to see the Hydras twice without seeing the Mutas once is kind of very interesting. Or see it more than the Mutas, basically, is all I'm trying to say. Is this Queen Hellion Force? So Queen versus Hellion fight. This Banshee Hellion Force is doing quite a lot. Queen's taking some damage. Banshee putting out some hurt.
Well, it's always scary when you see the Terran bullying back the army like that, but it usually just because they're waiting for Transfuse or waiting for a Spore Crawler to finish. In this case, just doesn't want to potentially lose the Lings. So being very conservative with them. Queen does go down.
Overseer's done though, so this Banshee needed to get out of there already. It did not survive. It went down. The Hellions get surrounded now too. This falls apart for uThermal very quickly at this point, so you just lost all of your map control, all of your pressure, and what did you, what did you get? 2 Queens, Lings. He's going to get the Banshee on the natural, some drones now, but that's about it. And obviously it's just 1 Banshee. It's nowhere near as scary as the 2. And uThermal losing a lot there, and that just gives Lambo so much more freedom now.
Right, it's freedom. uThermal's not going to get countered here. Lambo's not going to try. A decent number of Marines being tucked into a corner as well, just in case there was an attempt. But the game does go on. 6 Hellbats don't often influence a battle. Don't usually see it happen. The game goes on, but now Lambo feels no pressure. Not that his creep spread hasn't been really good, even with Hellions available. And he gets to choose where to go, and that is into a Spire. Yay! I like this creep spread too.
I'm excited about the Spire play. See some Mutalisks here. Change it up a bit.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. So remember, like last game, we were kind of like, oh, 8 racks, and then you added on a second factory, and we were like, oh, I guess not.
Yeah.
I did feel like so strongly that was a change of plans, and this seems to confirm it, unless it's a third build order that he does and him alone. But the second factory this fast, it's more what I'm expecting when you also grab a 4th TC. Armory also coming down correctly timed this game.
And this time he'd be nice to get into drilling cores. That Thor, of course, you know, it really did feel as well like he expected Mutas last game and they never really arrived, right? So the Spy actually goes pretty well. He trades out for a while against the Zerglings, and that does go just fine. Needs to keep moving these medevacs away, though. I mean, the Queens are very slow. If this was Hydras, they would have been dead, but uThermal gets away with it this time as starts to move out towards his own watchtower, and he might get a bit of a push going toward that 4th base.
Wardy, you forgot combat shields. Oh, no. Oh, he remembers it, but it's supposed to be finishing.
Yeah. Still late, and obviously that's still very unfortunate for uThermal because the extra health on these Marines, I mean, it goes a long way. It means they can't stim as much. It means they take way more damage. Widow Mine, though. I tell you what, the Widow Mines in this series have been consistently very good for uThermal.
The Lambo's no dummy. He had plenty of reinforcements to help out. Another pretty good Widow Mine to the top side. But yeah, the combat shields, especially when in those cases where you get surrounded by pure Ling, can really be the difference maker. Or against even Glaive Worm Mutas, those Glaives bouncing around. So, of course, the initial amount of Mutas is not going to be that threatening. And since they are used offensively, they might not make it back in time to help against the drops. They got a lot of things to clean up, so maybe yes, maybe no. Boost again. Oh, unload. This will be cleaned up then. Maybe target the Mutas.
Is there a good way out of this? Drop to the low ground. That's like the best way, right? He's going to get himself at least a Mutalisk.
Oh, 2.
It's 2.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
3.
Whoa.
This wasn't even that bad anymore.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, this should have been terrible, and he gets a couple extra Lings on the end. Wow, that was a good recovery from a very difficult position from uThermal. That was very nicely done.
And still without combat shields. Now finally finishes up, so I'll have to keep talking about that.
Though. He was distracted when he should have started 2-2, so it was already late, and then he just started melee. And I get the feeling right now he probably expects melee and Carapace to go on the way. I don't think he realizes that Carapace isn't going. And Carapace is the important one in TVZ because it's the one that stops your Lings taking so much damage when the Marines are dealing damage, right? Like, it's the one that's always impactful when fights are happening, whereas the melee is only impactful when you get on top of those Marines. So missing the Carapace, that's a real shame and definitely a mistake. You have a Lambo as well, so is that. Geez. More Mutalisks just dive into Marines. That's not what we like to see.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that Carapace, though. Like, the Banelings don't need that melee upgrade to kill, but the Lings need it to actually make it over there and, like, charge lots of armor. But
talking about Banelings, there's only 11 on the map.
Yeah. Sometimes those upgrades don't matter if you consistently get fights on creep and you actually have a decent amount of Banelings. You can buy time at the very least for it to finish, but in this case, you just simply never notice. Upgrades might have been a target, but they're actually about to finish. Thor was here as well, so Lambo, especially after losing so many mutas, doesn't have a true scary force of them. He is just holding on to his creep spread desperately, and once that's gone, his 4th base becomes more and more in question, and he can't even really afford to get another base. If this falls, the 50 just took is the next domino.
You know what the worst thing is about not having Carapace is that you don't even go into 3-3, right? Because there's no hive. Hold that thought. Oh. Here we go. Widow Mines on Mutas to start this off as Lambo just engages in off creep. Full positions there for a moment to try and stuff another Widow Mine or 2. Now he gets pushed back. Just to very quickly finish my thoughts. Because you don't have hive, you don't start 3-3, right? So you never accidentally start +2 when you go back to those upgrades. So he really has to realize that. That's going to be a big problem as the Bio going to start splitting back again. Lambo tries to come in from the top side too, but uThermal's getting his own reinforcements from the top right, and they show up. Actually, not that many Marines, which is what you mostly need against what is a lot of Lings left over at the end here. But man, the Mutalisk count, it's gone. 3 meters left. That's an issue.
His mutas get like a D, like a D plus maybe. Like 16
this is why he
lost.
built Hydras, CG.
Yeah, I shouldn't have pressured him so much. Yeah, they really haven't done what they could. Getting a lot more SEV damage, being able to snipe snipe medevacs before dying. Like, all those things can really add up. And instead, it's been mostly like almost 2,000 gone with how many mutas he's lost and how many he's actually done something with. Corruptors are now on the way. They're not going to die as quickly, yet still have the ability to take out the medevacs or liberators if they do join in. The planetary being so forward is really, really scary, but Lambo has bought some breathing time, so he's finally going to start that hive, finally notice perhaps the +2. Oh, look at that! That's it right before hive. But it's so much later. uThermal prioritizing +3 attack should also eventually get to the armor. His drilling claws also was not particularly fast, so that didn't stop his Widow Mines from getting good shots.
Yeah, I'd be more worried about that if his Widow Mines have been like unsuccessful, but I feel like these Widow Mines have had an amazing time as he gets rid of a couple of these Banes, he trades out what he can over here, and in fact he's going to force Lambo away before the bio's even gone. This little corner was a little bit too scary, and uThermal is pushing forward, and obviously the creep spread just doesn't really exist in this game. So uThermal's got so much control to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, and never really in too much danger when he's pushing in towards this low ground fourth base. As they one middleisk and the Corruptors fly forward, let's see what Lambo can do in this next fight. Widow Mines already getting their start and explosions off. The Marines getting themselves away from the few Balins that were all through. The Thor tanking so much damage for so long here. Looks like Lambo will start to do okay, but then a Widow Mine kills a huge chunk of Lings. And then the Ling count is suddenly gone, and uThermal will just push through, and there's a Queen out on its own, full of energy. It's just going to give itself up. It doesn't see the Zerg win in this game. It's just going to get it over with. And Lambo is... It's funny because the supplies are so close, yet the game is... It feels so Terran favored at the moment. And uThermal's even going to expand to Lambo's second Rich Vespine.
Yeah, I will say the Widow Mines didn't do as well as they could have. It was really nice of Lambo to come in from like a 270 surround with a trail first so that they didn't pop off on too much, and that the medevac count was depleted alongside the Widow Mine count. So that was the last two, I believe, that just... Or there's one... Okay, no. One died, two are left over. But you're right, though. I think pacing, just momentum-wise, still goes to uThermal, who continues to expand closer to Lambo's base. Lambo struggling to get any better units. There's already, he was being up against +3 attack for a while, one of the deadliest places to be. He's trying to get some upgrades to help out, but he is just hoping for a miracle engagement that not only does well enough, like the last one, but also takes down what is now going to be 2 planetaries before you start reaching into uThermal's side of the map.
Yeah, this is... it's bad when uThermal hasn't had like a single run by hit his third base this entire game. That's how much pressure Lambo's been under to just keep on defending this position. He and GG's out halfway through this engagement, and uThermal will take it 3-1 in this TVZ. And yeah, obviously his last game was very confident, very one-sided, but Lambo put up a really good fight. Like, he looked great in the first game, and he actually looked very good on Golden Wall as well, I would say. And then game number 2 also on Nightshade was like, it's that split second, one bad decision that he made. They kind of lost him that one too. So it's kind of a heartbreaking loss because I feel like this last game especially didn't really show what Lambo had in the rest of the series.
Agreed. Just the mutas being one of the highlights of
the
what could have been.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Not nearly as useful as they should have for all the investment put into it, but at least we got our predictions correct for once. Map score and everything. So... closer to winning that contest, right?
Yeah, I'll have you know, ZG, I was doing very well until special demolish time.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm still top 8. I'm not gonna say where you're at. It's not pretty. I'm not gonna do that to you.
Whatever, man. One time I was top 30 of like TeamLiquid bets. Okay, so like I'm still riding that high.
Yeah,
4 years ago.
You got that on your Twitter profile.
Yes, exactly.
We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?